Hi everyone, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us for our Girl Scouts chocolate bar tasting, getting ready for Halloween. We have our chocolate bars. We're going to tell you all about the flavor notes of each piece. First, I want to go over some ground rules. Then I will go into the history of Ethel M chocolates, and then I'll introduce Tammy Jo. If you did this last time with us, she'll be our chocolatier again, and she was also a Girl Scout, so she'll have some fun little anecdotes to talk to you about. So to start, if you haven't already noticed, you're all on mute with your cameras off, so we can't hear or see any of you. The best way to interact will be using the chat function, which is on the bottom of your screen, as well as the Q&A function. So when you're talking to each other, use that chat function. If you have any questions for us, we're going to have a little section at the end for Q&A. Definitely use the Q&A function so I can see easily the questions that you all have and I can better answer them. If you would like and you have a social media, we would love for you to tag us. Take a photo of your setup, how you're doing your tasting, who you're doing it with. Tag at Ethel M Chocolates on Instagram or Facebook and hashtag Ethel M Chocolates so we can be sure to see it and repost you so we can kind of feel like you're with you during this tasting. All right, I'll go ahead and get into our history. So if you aren't already familiar with Ethel M Chocolates, we actually are based in Henderson, Nevada, and started when Forrest retires from the company that him and his father Frank made. So they started the Mars Candy Company, which they made the Skittles, M&Ms, Twix, Snickers, all those products. He retired in 1976 and moved to Henderson in search of a little warmer climate to just relax, enjoy his retirement. Soon after, he missed making chocolate, so he started again using his mother Ethel's recipes that they would make in their kitchen in Tacoma, Washington. So in 1981, our factory opens, and you'll see the factory in that top middle photo. We're just outside of the Las Vegas Strip if you've never been here. It's about a 10-minute drive away, and you'll see our factory and also our cactus garden. So Forrest was also an avid gardener. So you'll see we have almost 3.5 acres of cactus, different over 300 species in our garden, and it's still always growing. And then you'll see that bottom photo is our cactus garden during the holidays. So we have a team constantly putting lights on, constantly adding lights. So now we have over 1.5 million LED lights in our garden. And November 6th is our big lighting ceremony where we turn on all the garden lights for the first time of the year. This time, in order to keep everyone safe, we are doing it virtually. So if you stay till the very end, I'll talk to you about a discount code you can use and what exactly that package entails. But we have a VIP package that you can purchase to fully participate and feel like you're with us in person this year. It's also free to watch. If you like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram, you can find the link, which is free to view. So that'll be very fun. The last thing I want to talk about before I pass it over to Tammy Jo is our solar panel garden. So you'll see on the bottom left, we have 4.4 acres of solar panels, and that actually powers our factory during its peak production hours, which is pretty special. Everything made during our busiest times can be made with solar energy, so that's awesome. I'll go ahead and hand it over to Tammy Jo now so you can start trying that chocolate sitting in front of you. So Tammy Jo has been with us for almost 20 years now. She started out learning about how all of the machines work on the factory side. She would give tours of the factory and explain how all the pieces are made. And now she works on the retail side where she gives tours and tastings like these. She trains associates and she's always continuing her education of chocolate through Mars. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Tammy Jo.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tammy Jo. I'm so glad.
I apologize, I was muted. Let me just make sure. All right, can you guys see me? Can you hear me? All right, cool. Welcome to our virtual tasting. I'm so excited and I can't wait to see all your photos that you guys hashtag us on our Facebook page with all your costumes. This one's my costume. I'm wearing my favorite Girl Scout t-shirt for when I rocked the dam. Very excited about that. That was a really fun time. So let's talk about chocolate, right? That's why we're here. We're gonna get to try these delicious chocolates today. Are you guys super excited? I'm super excited. But first, before we eat the chocolate, we have to learn how to eat the chocolate the right way. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna slow it down And I'm gonna make you eat chocolate slower than you probably ever have before, but it's gonna be really, really fun. So let's look on the rules on how to taste things properly. It's very, very important. So step number 1 is touch. So yes, we're going to pick it up, we're gonna tear it open, but then we're going to smell our chocolate. 80% of your taste comes from your smell. So by smelling your chocolate and taking a deep breath, you're really gonna get all the aromas and flavors in that piece. And then as we're doing that, we're gonna talk about the flavor notes, okay? Step number 3 is actual taste. So yes, you're going to take a bite, but take a small bite at first, chew it a couple times, push it up to the roof of your mouth and kind of let it melt and think about all the texture and the taste and like what flavors are you getting? And then of course, as you finish your chocolate, I'll tell you all the cool fun facts about how we make our candy bars, okay? All right, our next tool that we have for you guys to use today is the placemat that we sent you guys. So everybody gets a placemat, and this is the order that we're gonna eat our candy bars in. We're gonna do the milk, the white, the milk, the caramel, and the lemon, okay? But what I want you to do on the placemat is I want you to write down the name of the bar, and every time we go through one of the guidelines, there's kind of like a little box for that guideline where you can write down little notes. So sight and feel, what did it look like? How did it feel to you? Was it bumpy? Was it smooth? What did it smell like? What was the aroma? So when you take a deep breath in of it, try to figure out, do I just smell chocolate or is there something else inside? And write those down. And then as you go, it kind of helps you identify what your favorite piece is. Also, we have the flavor wheel. That flavor wheel is really important. It's going to help you identify all the different smells that you may not pick up right away. So really look at that while you're smelling your chocolate, and it's going to help you identify what flavor you're trying. So I know you guys are just dying to dig in. So let's dig in to our first piece of chocolate. We're going to try our white chocolate candy bar. So everybody, if you haven't already, make sure you get a drink of water so you can cleanse your palate in between each new piece. Get your placemats ready, and let's go ahead and open our first candy bar. All right, here we go. All right. What I like about the bars is they have these cute little squares. You just kind of like pop one off, and that way you can save the rest for later if you want to. All right, and each one has this really cool, I don't know if you can see the design. It has Ethel M on it, but it's not like sticking out. It's kind of like sticking in. So like it's kind of carved into the piece. And we're going to talk about how we get that design on there in just a minute. But let's go ahead and smell the chocolate first. It smells so good. What do you guys smell? Do you smell vanilla? I smell cocoa butter and vanilla and sugar. All right, let's go ahead and take a bite. Let it melt on your tongue and really think about the texture, how creamy it is. It's so creamy. That is so good. So as you guys are enjoying your bar, I'm going to talk to you about how it is made. So this is our solid milk chocolate, and all the pieces that we are trying today are molded. They have a very special mold where it has the little Ethel M design in the mold so that when they pour the chocolate in, it's going to pick up whatever the design is inside that mold. We'll go into more detail about that a little later on, okay? So let's talk about the flavor. This one has a lot of sweetness. It definitely goes into sweet aromatics because it has kind of like a, almost like a butterscotch flavor because of all the cocoa butter, a little hint of vanilla, definitely dairy from all the milk, and a little bit of cocoa. So that is our milk chocolate candy bar. So as you're enjoying it, we're going to share some more cool facts about how chocolate becomes chocolate. So let's start at the very beginning at where it grows. So this shows you a map of where the cacao trees grow, okay? 20 degrees below and above the equator are the only areas you can find cacao trees, and that's because of the environment. They have to have high humidity, lots of moisture in the air. So the dark shaded areas you see on the map are the only areas you can find cacao trees. Let's dive a little bit deeper into the details of the trees and talk about how it grows on the tree itself. this is a cocoa pod. And you can see that it's kind of bumpy. And this one's kind of like sunken in. It's kind of like a shrunken head version of a cacao pod. And normally it'd be a little bit bigger and multiple different colors. Sometimes it's yellow, sometimes it's red, sometimes it's kind of green. And as you can see in the picture of the tree, they can grow anywhere on the tree. My favorite part about it is that the pod, this is very important, the pod is considered the fruit of the tree. So what does that mean chocolate is? I'll let you guys decide that. But let's talk about how many beans are in each pod. There's about 45 to 60 beans in each pod, which is pretty darn cool. And they're very particular, have to come off a certain way because the stem of it is very, very thick. So they have to use a machete to cut it off. They can't just twist it and pull it off because it's such a thick stem. So they have to use a machete to cut it off. They crack it open, they get the beans out, and then they go through fermentation where they sit out in the sun for 5 days and bake. What that does is it completely changes the consistency and the, what's the word I'm looking for? The acidicness of the bean. It changes that and prepares it for making chocolate. And then it goes to a sun drying table where it gets a nice golden suntan. All right, guys, go ahead and cleanse your palates. If you're not done with your bar, that's okay. You could always save it for later, but we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next candy bar, okay? This one is our milk chocolate. So again, we're gonna open it up. Take a look. It looks like it's made the same way as the other one. It has that really cool design on it where it says Ethel M. All right, I'm gonna break off a piece and save the rest for later. All right, let's go ahead and smell our chocolate. This one smells a little bit different, right? This one has a little bit more of a cocoa. It smells more like chocolate, but it still smells a little bit sweet, a little bit like vanilla. Let's go ahead and take a bite. This one's a little bit different. It melts a little bit slower, and that's because of the cacao inside. And we'll get into more detail about that in just a bit. So as you guys are enjoying your chocolate, think about the texture and the taste. Let us know in the chat box, like, what are you guys tasting? Talk amongst yourselves. Are you tasting the caramel notes? Are you tasting the cacao from the roasted part of the cacao bean that's in the chocolate? I definitely get the dairy and a lot of cacao, a lot more cacao than I did with the white chocolate for sure. So this one, milk chocolate, is basically cocoa butter, cacao solids, and it goes through a crumb oven process. And basically what that means is they have like a pressurized oven and they use a powdered milk and they blend the cocoa solids and the powdered milk together. And that's how they have this really rich, creamy chocolate that we're trying. Excuse me. This one also goes through the molding process. So basically that is going to look like this. I'd like to talk with my hands. So I'm gonna kind of draw a picture for you. So there's two tanks and they're shaped like a triangle. One has the filling, one has the chocolate shell, and they intertwine with nozzles. Now, if they're doing a solid piece like a candy bar, they're gonna have just one nozzle filled with just the chocolate, and it's gonna go down and fill the mold. But if it has two different fillings, if it's the chocolate shell and a creamy filling inside, then it's gonna have two nozzles. One nozzle is for the filling, one nozzle is for the chocolate shell, and it does the filling and the shell at the exact same time, and it's called the one-shot depositor, which is pretty cool. All righty. While you guys are enjoying your bar of milk chocolate, let's learn some more fun facts about the beans. All right, let's look closer at the bean. So this is what the beans look like. They're pretty big, and you can kind of see that they're kind of shiny, but they have this shell on them. So I'm going to try to break one of the shells off so you can really see up close what it looks like. Look at that. Isn't that cool? And look, It just pops right off, kind of like when you're opening a peanut, it has like a skin to it. So you just get rid of that, and then they crack it open and look on the inside. Let's see if I can get it to focus more on the actual bean. You can see how dark brown it is on the inside. That's what they want. So we have to source through the beans to make sure we get the right ones. And the color they're looking for is that really rich dark brown. That means they're perfectly fermented for making perfect chocolate. So once we source through the beans, we bag them up and then we ship them to Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania, where they're then roasted to bring out all of the flavor. And then we grind them into a liquid. So when you get to the point where the beans are kind of chopped, this is what they look like. And this is called a chocolate nib. This is 100% bean, and they're basically chopped up beans. They can be chopped up really fine, and you can use it for a topping for ice cream or even put it in your yogurt. So once we grind it up, the reason why beans, if you look at the ground and mixed picture, it's very, very creamy. And we don't add anything to that. It's basically already creamy because the bean is 50% cocoa butter and 50% cocoa solid. So by making it mix, they're going to extract the cocoa butter out, and they can use that to make the white chocolate. So that's why white chocolate isn't brown. They take the cocoa butter out of the cocoa solid and they separate it. And then they can add cream, sugar, and vanilla to the cocoa butter. And that is basically white chocolate. And milk chocolate is the crumb oven process, where they take the pressurized oven, milk powder, and cocoa solids, and they blend it in. And there's about 34% cacao for our milk chocolate. And then the dark chocolate is going to have a higher cocoa percentage. And you'll notice the difference when we get to our last candy bar. It's going to be a dark chocolate one. And then we have our enrober and our molding line, which is how we create all of our pieces. All right, who's ready for the next candy bar? I am. Okay, this one is a creamy caramel, milk chocolate creamy caramel candy bar. And this one is very messy, so get some napkins, just letting you know. All right, let's go ahead and rip it open. There we go. So if you're gonna break it apart, be very careful to break it right where the seam is so it's not too messy. I did it. Usually I make a huge mess, so good for me. How are you guys faring? Did you guys end up making a mess? If you did, that's okay. It just makes it more fun. So this one is the same one. It has a cute little logo on it. Let's go ahead and smell. Can you guys smell the caramel? I can smell it a little bit. It smells a little sweeter than the milk chocolate one did. So I have a fun food trick to share with you guys that we're going to try. What we're going to try is we're going to take away our sense of smell by plugging our nose. So you're going to hold your nose down and then take a bite, chew a couple times, push it up to the roof of your mouth, and then unplug your nose. So try to keep your nose closed for as long as you can, okay? So let's try it together. Smell. Plug your nose, take a bite. And release. Ooh, that one's a little bit different, right? It has some caramel in there and it's kind of gooey and it kind of like melts in your mouth in a different way. It changes the texture of the piece and it makes the caramel like it's a lot sweeter than just the milk chocolate. This one's really, really good. So a really cool way that they make this one is, again, the one-shot depositor, but they have to make the caramel first. So they use a steam kettle to melt down all the ingredients. They mix it up. They pour it into the one-shot depositor, and it does the filling and the chocolate shell all at once. This one tastes like dairy. It's got a roasted flavor, and it definitely goes into sweet aromatics with that honey, vanilla, and butterscotch flavors. I tasted all of those. What did you guys think? Yeah? Did you taste all of them? Very cool. Alrighty, let's cleanse our palates and go into the last piece. If you're not ready yet, that's okay too. Finish your chocolate. All right, this is our last one. This one's a little bit different. It's going to be dark chocolate. It's going to have lemon inside. So this one's going to smell a lot different too. All right, let's go ahead and open it up. Ooh, that one smells really different, right? I can smell the lemon, and then I smell the chocolate. This one sometimes gets a little messy too. Let's see if I can break it. Ooh, I did. You can see that the filling is kind of coming out on that one just a little bit. Let's break it open. Ooh, look at that. It's a little messy, like I said. You can definitely smell the crisp zestiness of this piece. Okay, let's go ahead and take a bite. Ooh, that one kind of draws your jaws up a little bit, doesn't it? So what did you guys taste with this one? This one's very different, right? It's gonna melt in your mouth a little slower. It's gonna have a stronger flavor, not just because of the lemon, but also because of that roasted dark chocolate. So the dark chocolate's gonna have a stronger flavor because we use 54% cacao instead of 34. Makes a big difference. So it's gonna have coffee and espresso. Definitely goes in the vanilla and floral notes. I tasted a little bit of like citrus blossom for sure. And definitely that very strong lemon, right? That one is really good. That one's one of my favorite candy bars. Alrighty, so now we're gonna head back to talk to Lauren and some other guests that we have for you guys to talk to today.
All right, so what did everyone think? What was your favorite piece? I know I asked you what it was before our last bar. Did it change? Is your new favorite piece the last bar that you tried now? Let us know. And if you have any questions throughout the tasting that you weren't sure about or you wanted to learn more about, type that into the Q&A section. We have a guest, Mariel, joining us. So Mariel, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and show your camera. Hi. So she is our senior sensory scientist. And Mariel, I will let you kind of talk a little bit about what you do, kind of how you got to your career, what led you here, what you love about your job. And then if there's any questions that the girls have, we can go ahead and answer them.
Sounds great. Thanks. So like Lauren said, I'm Mariel. I am a senior scientist with the sensory team here at Mars Wrigley. Gosh, what's my favorite part about my job? It's probably all the candy and all the chocolate, especially that we get to try. A little bit about the day-to-day of what I do is I'm responsible for that product experience. We like to say in Team Sensory that we translate our consumers' dreams and desired experiences into real life products. So what we try to understand is what makes our product special and unique, and what is it that consumers are looking for, and how to marry those two things together. So there's a lot of product tasting, a lot of refinement, especially with new big ideas that we like to try. And then just making sure that day to day, what comes out of the factory tastes just as delicious as it should every time.
That's awesome. And have you always worked with Mars, or did you have a different position before this with sensory?
Yes, I love sensory. So I actually have been with Mars Wrigley for the last 7 years. Prior to that, I was actually doing chocolate and confectionery research in graduate school.
That's amazing.
So I do encourage you guys to consider food science as you think about education paths as you go into school. If you like chemistry and biology and the real life application and cooking of all those scientific principles, food science is where everything comes together, and sensory is one aspect of food science. So sensory is really just what you think it is, the way things taste, they smell, they feel, all the 5 senses translated into something statistically robust. So it's fun because you get to blend science with the art of, cooking and the fun of eating.
That's awesome. All right, girls, do you have any questions for any of us?
I see you guys talking about the lemon satin. It's so good. It's such a great contrast of flavors. It's delicious.
So did you help with any of that piece, or have you helped create any new pieces, and what was your role with that?
Yeah, so with lemon satin cream, no, that's a long-standing family tradition and like you guys were talking about from the very beginning with the Mars family. But I can say that one of the more recent things that I worked on, and I hope you guys have tried and enjoyed, is the Twix cookies and cream bar that's in markets now.
Ooh,
It's really tasty.
that
You
one
know,
is so
everyone
good.
loves cookies and cream, and Twix is really that cookies candy bar. So it's just kind of a natural progression. So I helped the product developers decide, you know, what's the right flavor combinations? How do we get the right texture to give a cookies and cream experience?
Wow, that is so cool. And what is your most favorite candy that you've tried from our line and why? Do you have a favorite?
I do have an Ethel M favorite. My Ethel M favorite is the almond butter crisp. It's
Ooh,
delicious. And I have to say it's because it captures all of your senses. You've got the really good flavors with the roasted almond flavor and the caramel essence, but then you've also got the crunch. Oh, it's uniquely satisfying. I highly recommend.
and then what about your favorite from what you've created or had a role in?
These questions are always hard because there's always projects that we're working on that either haven't come to fruition yet or you know, we've stepped aside to work on other things. I will say seasonally, some of my spooky Halloween favorites right now. Last year we did something called Creepy Cocoa Crisp M&Ms, and I loved like a crunchy chocolate center wrapped in chocolate, wrapped in the candy shell. A lot of fun.
That's awesome. And then we have some questions coming in. What is your favorite Ethel M chocolate bar that you tried today?
Ooh.
Tammy Jo, you can also answer this after
I
Muriel.
think the lemon, although if I could say bars, but maybe not that we tried today, the Forever Yours. I love the Forever Yours. It's delicious.
That one is so good. And Tammy Jo, which one was your favorite?
So, can you hear me now? Okay. My favorite today that I tried was the creamy caramel. I just love the texture of the caramel and how it just kind of blends and melts in your mouth with the milk chocolate. It's so good.
Yes, that one is so good. So let's see if no one else has any other questions. I do want to take a second and talk about Halloween this year. It's going to look a little bit different. As you know, everyone needs to be, socially distant and staying safe. Mars has come out with an app called Treat Town. I highly encourage you, if you haven't downloaded it yet, it is very fun and it's a great alternative to trick or treating this year. It's on the Google Store and the iPhone Store, and you download it. You get to decorate your own door, however you want to Halloweenify it. And then you get candy credits where you can redeem them in store for real candy. So you still get real candy. You still get to try all of the fun Mars branded candy that's coming out this season, and you get to do it safely. So Treat Town on any of the app stores is a great app to download. And thank you all so much. If you have no other questions, have a safe Halloween. Thank you all for joining us, and I hope we see you again soon in another tasting. And don't forget to use the code VIRTUAL for 15% off of any purchases on ethelm.com. Thank you.